Everyone, and welcome to Take Note Academy Online. My name is Emerald and I'm here with Ailbhe and Kyle from the Reprezent family. Hello Ailbhe, hello Kyle, welcome.
Hey.
Hi Emerald.
How are you?
I'm good, how are you guys today?
Very good, thank you.
Thank you for joining me.
Pleasure, thanks for your interest.
And shout out to everyone from Take Note Academy, from Reprezent and from Youth Music as well. We're going to be delving into all three of those worlds today. But let's start with the beginning of Reprezent for the two of you. So you both started at Reprezent in your early careers. And can you talk us through how you came to join and how your roles have progressed since then? Whoever wants to answer first. Why don't you start, Kyle? Oh, sorry.
he should go first because he's been there the longest.
Okay.
It's so long. So I was 14 when I first discovered Reprezent. I was going to a theatre school in Peckham called Theatre Peckham. And a couple of people from Reprezent came over and were talking to some of the young people about this new station that's starting up in Peckham. So went over to Reprezent, done some training, and then ended up getting a show. And I was doing a show for a few years. And then I went to Brit School and studied media and radio production. And then I started working at the Brit School and then came back to Reprezent and did a show again. And then I realized I liked more production. And then I started doing more of the production behind the scenes kind of stuff at Reprezent, and then ended up working for there. I've been working there for like 5 years now.
14 years old, that's amazing. What a great place to have started at that young age as well. For a lot of people now, and for a lot of 14-year-olds now, that's such an incredible springboard for what I'm sure is turning out to be a really fruitful career in music for you.
Yeah, indeed, yeah.
What about you, Ailbhe?
So I started a good few years ago now. I'm trying to do the maths in my head, but because we're all into music, I'm just assuming that none of us are good at maths. But I started on a training course. So we did a 10-week radio and production training course, and it was just a free course that was happening in my area. And at the time, I had like finished uni, and I was looking for any job. I was applying for anything and everything, and I could not find anything. Like, I was working odd jobs, but I couldn't find anything that I was like, career time, let's do this. So then I started doing this training course with Reprezent. And then after a couple of sessions, I got a call saying, would you like to come and volunteer and be a broadcast assistant? Which obviously I was like, yeah, I'll be there, whatever you want, I'll do anything. And then so I just started being a broadcast assistant, helping with some production. When an open call out happened, I made a little demo and sent that in, and I got a show, and it's just kind of developed from there on the presenting side. And then I also started to then get some support shifts for the radio training courses, like the kind of courses that I'd started on, which was really cool. And from there, I've kind of moved up, and now I'm the training manager. So I run and recruit and deliver most of them, but we run all of the training courses that we do across the capital for like the next generation of Reprezent young people.
Wicked. We're going to delve into what each of you do in a little bit more detail in a minute. But before we get there, I want to talk about Youth Music, and Youth Music being an organisation that's funded Reprezent very long term being the key point there. For the last 5 years, Youth Music's funded Reprezent. And how do you reckon that long-term funding has changed things for Reprezent?
Like, massively. I think I guess me and Kyle will have sort of like different views for the whole picture in a way, because I guess I kind of do, for the most part, the first couple of steps, and then Kyle and the staff over at the day-to-day staff over at Pop then take that to the next level. And I think that the long-term investment and the long-term support is so much more impactful than doing something for 10 weeks or doing something for a weekend or doing something for a summer. And even if there are things that, you know, we appreciate any support that we get, obviously, and it's great, but the change really does come after a little period of time. And like, I'm still learning, like we're still teaching each other stuff years in. So being able to support people for a couple of years to get their confidence and to get their skills up, it just takes the pressure off a little bit, and it means that people can get good at what they're meant to be getting good at and get the support they really need, which takes longer than just 2 weeks, here's some photos, let's go, you know.
Yeah, I mean, from where I'm standing, in my perspective, I always think that sometimes it even takes a couple of years to figure out what you're good at, whether you're working in music already or not. I mean, you know you want to work in music, but there's so much more to it than just doing one thing in music. So I don't know whether you've seen that yourself within Reprezent or even in your own careers, but it does take a while. So that long-term support is so key in really nurturing someone. Do you agree, Kyle?
Yeah, I do agree.
Have you found that for you as well?
Say again?
Have you found that for you as well? Like it took a couple of years to really figure out what you wanted to hone in on?
Yeah, because at the beginning I started presenting, but then I found a passion for like producing the behind the scenes sort of element of radio. So yeah, it took a few years to discover that, but I'm glad I did.
Yeah. And what about you, Ailbhe?
Oh, absolutely. Like it took me a really long time in a career sense, and I guess like we're always going to keep changing that too, but for me it took a really long time to like, what is my thing? Like I knew I liked this type of music. I knew I also like wanted to do a mixture, and I had so many ideas in my head and I didn't know how to like channel those in the right way. And there's just so many things that like a year in, someone's like, why don't you do this? Or like even like a couple of months out, like Kyle going like, this is an easy way to do this. This is an app that you know, it's just, you always learning new things all of the time, that then you're suddenly like, now I know how to do that. I can go into this direction. I can go into that direction. And yeah, it's always a thing that needs a little bit of nurturing, I think.
Yeah. I think that long-term funding is an incredible thing that youth music have done for Reprezent, and it must be amazing.
We love youth music. Yeah.
Yeah. It must be amazing to, like you with the training programs as well, to stay with somebody for that time and really watch them grow, which is, I think, is so sick.
Oh, it's so nice. And it's like I mean, like a few years with the right support can change somebody's life. And like, I include myself in that. Like, it's just, it can completely change the whole direction that your life, your career, your friendships, your viewpoints, your tastes, it can completely change it all. And your expectations of what you think you can do. Yeah. That's the big thing too.
Yeah, totally. And getting to know yourself. Do you think it's difficult for a platform like Reprezent to stay afloat in terms of financial aspects and to access funding to keep it alive?
Yeah, it's difficult. We have traditionally, well, in earlier years, we traditionally would depend on a lot of grant funding and a lot of funding from maybe local authorities or youth organisations, etc. Things like the cuts, things like having diminishing sort of public services and things like that, that then filters down to organisations like Reprezent, but, you know, all youth organisations that are doing amazing work. So on that side of things, it's always a struggle to get things to the level that you want to get them and get things to the level that you need. Saying that, we always, because our team is so amazing and like everyone is quite innovative, we, I think, have always managed to find a way to do things, even if it's like, you've got to be more inventive with the way that you do things, basically. Like you make it work, but it can be hard.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, I would assume that you would recommend and encourage other platforms like Reprezent to apply for funding from places like Youth Music.
Oh, absolutely. And like, it's always worth doing, because obviously you get funding sometimes and you don't. And if you don't put an application in, then you're definitely not going to get it. And honestly, there's been some applications I've put in and I've been like, oh, I'm not sure it's going to fit. And then it's been like, yeah, we love it. And then there's been other ones I've put in and I've been like, we can't not get this. And then we haven't. So it's, you know, you never truly know what the people reading it are looking for. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's always worth applying, and it's always worth having a look at like what they actually want. And if you are delivering what they want, then it's definitely worth giving it a go.
Yeah, you got to be in it to win it. Am I right? So Ailbhe, let's talk a little bit about you personally, because you're a DJ, right? And you've got your own Reprezent show yourself. So yeah, as well as doing a lot of training and being very hands-on with development, you are a presenter and a DJ yourself. Mm-hmm. Has there been anything outside of Reprezent that's a particular career highlight for you?
My big one My big ones actually happened within a week, in the same week of each other last year. But my big one was that I did the Radio 1 rock show, cover show over Christmas time, which was just obviously just amazing. And I also did the Idols after party, which I was super happy with because I just love that band so much. And it was in the same week, so it just felt like a special week. But the Radio 1 rock show for me, that's the highlight, because it was just, I wasn't expecting it. And it's a show that I listen to and like rate very much. And so, yeah, it was, that one was pretty cool.
Was it a bit of a dream come true for you?
Yeah, sitting in Radio 1, like, it was one of those things where I really did not, like, you don't even realise how big a deal it is until you're sitting there. I knew it was a big deal, but it didn't hit me until I was like sitting in the chair with like the Radio 1 microphone being like, oh, it's actually a real thing that's happening.
Yeah, there's something about walking into the BBC building for this first time and you're like, whoa, this is crazy.
The whole thing, because you think you know the building, but actually like you don't at all. Like I feel like I know it from it being on a background in the news. And then I was just like, oh my God, I'm going in it. It was amazing.
It's funny, isn't it? Because like, well, I've come from Rinse and working in those community run radio stations that are all very like grassroots and everybody's there like a really small unit, small family, and then walking into the BBC, it's just like, whoa, I wasn't ready for this. It's a special feeling, isn't it?
Yeah, it's monumental, really.
And what about you, Kyle? Anything particular that was a highlight for you outside of Reprezent?
Well, outside of Reprezent, I put on events. And I've been doing events for the past 4 years and throwing parties and stuff. So turning out an event is always a highlight.
Yeah. What's it called? Is it Waves?
Yeah, Waves Party.
Yeah. Can you tell us a bit about what goes on at a Waves Party? What kind of music you expect to see? What kind of DJs?
Waves Party is a hip hop R&B night. We normally do nights in Shoreditch and around the London areas. And I usually have DJs from Reprezent and other places from all over London and outside of London as well. And we're just showcasing DJs' talents and having a good time to bring everyone together.
Sick. And how do you go about booking talent for your events, especially new talent? Where do you look for it? And for anybody who's watching now who thinks, you know what, that sounds like the kind of event that I want to play at, how do they get in touch with you? How do they apply?
So DJs, they send their mixes to me via like my Instagram pages, Twitter, or they find my email address. Some people come to the nights and then they find me or talk to say who runs the event and they come up to me. Sometimes it's word of mouth, or I might see a DJ play out somewhere or hear them on radio and Reprezent, and yeah, just that way.
Yeah, it's like we were talking about earlier, isn't it? It's just about getting your work out there, throwing out applications and being in the mix and
posting your mixes and using social media.
Exactly. Throw it at the wall, one of them will stick. There's more to it than that, but you know what I mean. Yeah. So Ailbhe, let's talk about the training programs that you run. So it's one element that Youth Music funds. Can you tell us how someone can apply to join one of those programs and what kind of thing you're looking for is?
Yeah, so we have a few different ways that you can apply. We do targeted like open call outs for specific courses that we do. So for example, if it's for a certain age or if it's for a certain project, that means that you need to have a little bit of interest. For example, if it was London Youth Games in sport or Love Books in a particular type of music or area. So we do that on our socials. So it's always good to follow Reprezent and also just follow any platforms that you're interested in getting involved in. I would just always say, be actually following them and seeing what they're about and what they're doing is always a good thing. We also have a Join Now page where you go to just go to our website, reprezent.org.uk, click Join Now, and you can fill in a form with some like basic information in that as well. And they're the main two ways, really. You can email as well, but they're the main two ways.
Cool. What was the process like in creating those training programs and making them how they are now? Did you do a lot of research into what people wanted in terms of actually being in that room?
In the last couple of years, we've really rejudged it up. First of all, what we did was chat to some of the more experienced rep volunteers who are basically doing bits all over the place, know their stuff. And then a load of the Reprezent staff, and just saying, what do you need? So when it comes to volunteers at a radio station, what are the things that at the moment our training is providing and at the moment our training could maybe do better for? So then your Kyles, your Nanas, everyone started saying, and myself will be like, right, we need a little bit more of this, a little bit more of that. Maybe some more lessons in how to do X, Y, or Z. So then we put that all in a big list. And then we also have like, this is the more, not a sexy side, but then we have like strategic and learning outcomes that are underlying all of the lessons. So the trainees are not aware of that in a sense. Like, I'm not like, hello, today we're doing, like, they don't really know that. But in my head, I know that they've got to be ticking these things to know that. Basically, I want to get everyone that does the course, I could just plop them at Rep, at Rinse, at a community radio station or a radio station somewhere. And instead of them saying, hi, can I shadow you? Which, Emerald, I'm sure you get all the time, can I shadow you? Instead of being like that, it's about saying, I am useful and these are the ways that I am useful, and can you use me in some way? Or can I start volunteering? Can I start supporting? Which hopefully eventually will lead to jobs.
So getting what they really need out of it, rather than something that might not actually benefit them as much as they thought it would.
Yeah, and like being able to be malleable, you know, because I think that like, even if you're like, yeah, I want to be X type of presenter, I want to be a daytime presenter, or I want to be a specialist, like alternative music presenter, like being able to then still be like my first like voluntary position at Reprezent was a broadcast assistant on a social issues show. But it's like, you don't turn that down because you're like, oh, well, I want to play this type of music on a Sunday night eventually. Like, you've got to do it, and you've got to, if they give you a 2-minute package to produce, you better produce the hell out of it, because if you don't, they're not going to give you a 5-minute package or a 2-hour show. So it's about being able to apply new skills in lots of different ways as well.
And to be adaptable.
Yeah, for sure, because that's the way that then, you know, when people start to see that you can do things and know that you're good for it in a way, then you will get more freedom and creative autonomy, or whatever the word is.
So speaking of broadcast producing as well, Kyle, you are a broadcast producer for Reprezent. What else do you do there? Because I know you're very hands-on with a lot of other stuff as well. So tell us about your role and what else you cover at Reprezent.
So I do broadcast producing, so everything that goes on air I have to monitor. Station support, so all the presenters and the volunteers and the work experience people, we give support to where needed. What else do? We do a bit of everything. So we do like artwork, we do videos and video editing, social media. So like all the tweets have to be scheduled and tweeted out, who's on air, what's going on with the station. We do like Instagram stories. So like who's on air and what's coming up, or looking back to when guests have been on and stuff. So there's a lot that goes into working at Reprezent.
He's a busy boy over at Reprezent. And how do you help presenters bring their ideas to life? How much creative control do they have? Because like Ailbhe was saying earlier, sometimes you can recommend the right app for Ailbhe to use, or just how to make your vision or your idea look sick, look slick, and really, really bring it up to a standard. How much do you have involvement in that, and how much creative control do the presenters have before that happens?
The presenters have a lot of creative control, and then they'll come to us and they need help. So if someone say someone wants to get an interview with someone that they can't reach, then I can help them using my Reprezent email address, or try and find their management company or the record label that they're signed to. But yeah, they have a lot of creative control over everything. Just if they need help, then they just hit us up, and then we'll try and help as much as we can.
He's being modest, isn't he?
Yeah, he is being modest, because he helps, and it's also about, it's just little things as well, because I think so much of it is just like, oh, by the way, what about, you know, this is how you can tighten things. And a lot of the time it's like the bare bones of the ideas, like presenters and volunteer will have the bare bones, but then like Kyle or Naina will be like, yeah, but why are you doing it like that? It's a long way around to do it. Like, this is a much better way that looks good. Or they'll send it and say, like, this doesn't look as good as if you did this, but in a positive way. You know, we all love each other, you know, it's fine. And those things are really helpful, because sometimes it's those things that, you just need things tightened up a little bit, given the professional eye.
And I guess that comes with time and wisdom of being so hands-on, which you guys are, right? You're proper, you've got that technological skill that I guess a lot of presenters might not. And like you said earlier, it's about being adaptable and having come from where you've come from and being there for so long, you're trained in those technical things as well that maybe somebody who's a bit newer won't have that same knowledge. And so Kyle, you take people from the training programs to do work experience for you. What are the roles within radio outside of being a presenter? Because there are a lot, right? Radio station, there's a lot to do. So tell us about some of those roles outside of being a presenter.
So you got broadcast assistants who help the shows when it comes to like cleaning music, finding tracks, coming up with special like feature ideas. You got people that do filming and editing and uploading to Instagrams and YouTubes and Twitters. There's many different roles, and yeah.
Yeah, a lot. Are there any more you can think of, Ailbhe, that we haven't mentioned?
There are producers, there are like social media managers or like people that take over that side. There are, I guess, people that help with curation as well sometimes with like the tracks. But generally, I guess like broadcast assistants at Rep anyway, that generally, because they get trained in a multifaceted like realm or whatever, like they should be able to do lots of different stuff. And then the work experience takes that on as well. So right. Then what happens is it will then be bespoke to the presenter. So once they've done training and once they've done work experience, by that point, like between myself, Kyle, and the rest of the staff, we will kind of know, okay, Anise would be really good with this person, or Ruby would be really good with Remy, and this is why. And so there's a few different ways that we would put that match together so that both of the volunteers are enhancing each other's shows, enhances each other's experience, and also there's, you know, a personality and a social support side to it as well, which is just nice. You make sure that you put people together that are going to enrich one another's sort of careers and also, you know, time volunteering.
The right dynamic is very important.
Oh, completely, because what different people need is, you know, what volunteers need is so different as well. Like there'll be some people that are really self-contained, but then are just rubbish at video content. So then really they just need someone, I'm talking about partly myself. But so it's really good to have someone that's maybe a bit better at the visual side. And, you know, there's things like that.
Yeah, people that complement each other as a pair. So once someone's been accepted into a training program, what kind of support can they expect from various programs? So you mentioned earlier the Love Box program. Can you tell us specifically about that and any others you'd like to mention and what exactly the differences are between them?
Yeah, so generally speaking, there will be like a base level of things that we want to make sure that the volunteers and the trainees have when they leave the course, because it just means that we know that we've done our job properly and that they can go and start being useful and start getting opportunities for themselves and start developing their own careers. So there will always be editing training, different types of show, different types of production training, how to make creative content, how to use social media properly, the do's and don'ts of things like that. You know, these things are they're always going to be essential because, you know, if you don't know, it's hard. Like not everyone knows how to write a professional tweet, and not everyone's just like born knowing how to do that. So it's things like that that are really important. But
I'm absolutely terrible at Twitter. I don't know what it is, but I'm just crap at it. I can't do it.
And everyone's got their things, and it's just like everyone's got their things like that. So you at least want like a certain like level. But then the specific courses might then have something within them that are unique to that course. So for example, Lovebox, the young people at the end also went and provided broadcast production for when we were on site at Lovebox Festival a couple of years back. Yeah. Nike's London Youth Games was the sort of the cherry on the top of the training, if you will. So they had 10 weeks of training and all this different stuff. But then at the end, we did an outdoor broadcast at the London Youth Games. And then those 10 young people did on-site journalism, did help with production and broadcast assistance and things like that on the day. We then also have ones like Southwark Council do training for young people that are in the local area to our training studios in Peckham. And that one is just more specific, geographically specific. So yeah, we have lots of different types of training. It just depends on where people need us and where people, I don't really know how to end that.
Well, yeah, well, you kind of answered my next question, because I was going to ask you about like how you encourage collaboration between trainees and external partners, but that puts it all into perspective and really explains it, that, you know, those things are integrated into those training programs.
That's one way. And another way, like we have a lot of sort of people that just provide back-end support. You wouldn't even know that we were sort of collaborating, if that makes sense, but they're just providing the financial support because they want to help people in their local area, or they might have like certain aims that they want to reach. They might just have some philanthropic money, and they know that Reprezent is a great organization, so they want to just give some money to that. So it really does depend. We do bespoke training as well, because there might be, for example, Doc Martens wanted to do a set of workshops that were X, Y, or Z, or a certain organization might want to do evening DJ workshops because that's what their young people have asked for. So we are very, like, we will design bespoke training depending on the collaboration and the aims of the two of us and what would work.
Cool. I want to know what the community support is like at Reprezent as well. Like, I want to know what everybody is like when they're all with each other in terms of collaborating with each other and socializing. I mean, does everybody go to each other's nights and raves? Does everyone support each other when they're DJing? Like, Kyle, how do you find it in that respect?
It's like a big family, so everyone comes. People come to chill. They're not even doing a radio show. People just want to be around other creatives. And yeah, everyone goes to each other's nights. People come to my nights as well. Yeah, everyone's just like a big family.
Yeah, do you agree, Ailbhe?
Completely. It's like the support side is so nice because it's genuine. Like everything from, I know social media isn't everything, but like if you want your event or something big that's happened to you, like pushed, like everyone at Reprezent will push each other's, retweet each other's stuff, share each other's stuff. You know, most people have like another little thing that's going on. You know, when I'm DJing, people will come to my events, will just like pop up and turn up, and you're like, oh, you know, I didn't even know you were going to be here, and they're there. Like Kyle's events, I know it's just like full of rep people all the time, and it's always a very supportive place where people are just like, I feel like some parts of like the ominous word of the industry or whatever, but people aren't always like everyone is so happy for each other at Reprezent when anything good happens to them. Like everyone is proper excited that good things are coming to people and that they're getting out there, and they support and create just a nice atmosphere. Like, you know, when you've got a night and it's full of people that you know and you trust and you love, it's always a nice feeling.
Yeah, it's something that I've noticed externally as well, just from like I do my night afters, and I booked Nana for one of these, and I noticed that so many people from Rep came to that party alongside her to be there and support her, and you can see that community spirit and how everybody backs each other so much. It's a really beautiful thing to see. And
so nice. And even like no matter what level people are at as well, it always carries on, and I think that's something that's very special. And the support is not just, you know, it's also like a friendship in terms of friendship and like emotional support and things like that as well. It's a very special place.
Is there that support system that exists there in terms of emotional support? Like, say if somebody is struggling on a personal level, do you have counselling on site or anything like that?
We have signposting services, like as a standard sort of youth organisation would do, and we don't have counselling on site, but we do have pastoral care, and we do have processes that are in place to obviously just ensure that like the well-being of the presenters are, you know, that everyone is okay and everyone's being looked after, and on a day-to-day basis, like that's part of what the staff do as well. It's just by talking to young people, checking in with them, checking how things are going, we just sort of like put all of these things together and just make sure that everybody is safe, well, happy. Do they need support? If so, what kind of support do they need? What do we need to do to make sure that they are being looked after?
Wicked. Sick. And so I want to know a bit more about how you have handled the lockdown process as well. So Kyle, I know that you've been helping a lot of presenters from home at the moment, and you've been supplying them with the equipment they need. How has that been? How have you handled it? What have you been having to do? How hands-on has it been?
So it's been good, to be honest. Like there's a lot of presenters who have their own DJ decks or CDJs and stuff, and all you need is a laptop or a computer, CDJs, and a sound card and a microphone, and you can be live from your house.
And away you go. It's incredible how everybody's adapted. Like, you can kind of see my really messy setup behind me there. I don't want to show you too much because it's like such a mess in my flat at the moment.
It's pretty clean.
No, it's awful. But isn't it incredible what you can do when you realise the technology that you need? Mm-hmm. But has there been anybody who's really struggled and you've had to help them out with the software or any sort of extra training that maybe they couldn't have got because of lockdown? Kyle?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so there's like, during this lockdown, there's been like softwares that I had to find myself as well. And like, I had to put on like Ailbhe's computer just to make sure that we can do interviews via like Zoom and Skype and still put them out on air. So there's been different, it's been a learning, yeah.
A learning curve.
Yeah, it's been a learning curve.
Yeah. There's something that I just thought of that makes me laugh so much. There's a program, I don't know if you guys use it, but it's called Butt, B-U-T-T.
Yeah.
And I'm chatting to producers and DJs or whatever when we're doing broadcasts, and every time I have to spell or say the word but, I'm just creasing so much. I'm like, be professional. It's funny, right?
The amount of times that Kyle's was texting the group like, so-and-so's butt's not working, this butt's not working.
It's too good, man. It's amazing. It's the little things, eh?
Yeah.
Are there any particular software or hardware programs that you think are essential to have either from at home or just in general as somebody who wants to do radio or be a presenter or a DJ? Like, I know for me that having a good quality microphone changed a lot of the game for me in terms of recording from home. But anything you can think of that you're like, that was a lifesaver?
Kyle, do you want to go?
I would say Adobe Audition is a great piece of software to have at home because you can record dry links and then add music in, and then you can record your mixes as well straight into that. Adobe Audition, I would say. What do you think, Ailbhe?
Yeah, absolute winner, Adobe Audition. Also, I think when it comes to mics, like you were saying, Emerald, obviously you can go super, super fancy and like, you know, I've got a super fancy mic that I actually don't even use all the time because it's like, can be so fiddly, but you can't go wrong with an SM58, I don't think. Like if you're at the sort of, it's not cheap, but it's not 300 quid either. So I think they're about 70, 80 quid. So it's the kind of thing, maybe if you're like, cool, I could put a little bit aside for a few months if I know long term, but you can't go wrong with an SM58. I think anyway. I'm wondering if, but they're just, it's just like the standard level, and we've been using them the whole time all the way through here, and you just know what you're going to get. And then aside from that, again, the CDJ conversation could go on forever, I think, with people. But I think as long as you've got a mixer and a way to put the two songs in, even if you're at a basic level that you just want to get something out there, I think that as long as you've got the mic and the capacity to do that. And yeah, as Kyle said, like, even if you need to start small, because yeah, I mean, I don't even know some of my own stuff of that right now because it ain't cheap. But at the very least, if you've got a mic, you could record those dry links. You could then edit in the music afterwards. Yeah. That could at least get you a demo that maybe then could get you somewhere in the future. Obviously, we're in lockdown right now, so you've got to make do with the best that you can. So that's a good way to start.
Yeah, beg, steal and borrow as well is my advice.
100.
That's what Instagram's good for as well. Put a little story out. Has anybody got this? Please let me borrow it. Honestly, it's worth it. Do it.
Yeah, you've got to be crafty in this day and age.
You've got to hustle for that.
Yeah.
Well done to everybody who's come through the training program as well and is smashing it now. Right?
Yeah, we love them.
Well done, you legends. Okay, and finally, what would each of you give as a piece of advice to young people making their way in music? Either something you've been told by a mentor, or it could be something that you wish you told yourself. I'm going to tell you mine before you tell me yours, right? Because I have this saying that somebody once told me. It was just when I was working at a pub once, and this guy came into the bar, and we were talking about what we do or whatever. and what I wanted to do. And he said to me, you never know what you want to do until you've done what you don't want to do. And so that basically means, it's important to do the really like crap things, because without doing them, you wouldn't actually arrive in the place where you're like, actually, yeah, this is what I want. So basically, don't give up on the bad things. You need them just as much as the good ones.
Love that.
I mean, obviously give up on them once they're bad, but you know what I mean? So what about you? Do you want to go first, Ailbhe?
Yeah, I was warned that this was coming and I completely forgot until you started asking, and I was like, oh no, I was meant to plan my answer. But I don't know if this is a short one, but say yes to things and give it a go. Just keep in mind that there are so many people that are not as good as you that are saying yes to things, or aren't even qualified for things that are saying yes. That's the biggest thing that I don't want to say regret, because I feel like because of that experience, I have told loads of people that I train to not do that. But especially at the start, I would always be like, oh, I don't think I'm good enough at this yet, or like, oh no. And it was just like, then I'd be seeing, and then I just feel like I should have been more confident in myself to say yes to things. And nothing's just going to come to you. So just keep putting stuff out. You're going to be embarrassed at something you put out years ago. You should be getting better all the time, and that's okay. If you don't put anything out, it's never going to get better.
Yeah.
So just start. Even if you start here, it can only go up.
Yeah.
But if you don't, if you just sit on stuff, then yeah, sorry, I probably blabbered too long.
No, not at all. But and the last bit you said resonates a lot with me, because I have streams out that I put out a couple of years ago, and I watch them back now and I hate them so much. I cringe at them. But then without doing those, I wouldn't be doing the next one. So it's important. It's like a singer or a songwriter looking back at an album or a tune they did or an EP they did and being like, oh, I'm so much better than that now. But you have to put it out in the first place,
because otherwise no one's going to see it. And like, I feel like that too. I'm very hard on myself, and I am a perfectionist with things, and I would be like, that's not good enough and that's not good enough. But maybe it's not good enough to you, but if you don't put it out and you don't start, then you're just going to sit on the same thing. And sometimes you just have to make peace, let stuff go, and like move the hell on and get better. Keep getting better.
What about you, Kyle?
I would say try everything, develop your skills, and network.
Sweet.
Much more succinct.
Yeah, I remember always telling anyone who asked me that question before as well, learn technical skills, because it's so important to be able to go, someone asks you, can you do this? And you go, yeah, I can actually. Just work it out, learn it, spend time working out technical things, practice, be hands-on, especially as a woman as well. I have to say, like, it's important that you can do the technical things. Yeah. Anything else, guys, that we've forgotten or we want to cover, we want to say for advice for young people watching this right now? Or have we nailed it?
I think we've nailed it. I hope. I can't think of anything else.
Sweet. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, great to meet you, Emerald. Thank you for your time as well.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
I can't wait to meet you both IRL in the flesh. And thank you so much to the Take Note Academy team. Thank you to Bianca. Thanks to Youth Music. And thanks to the Reprezent family as well, for these wonderful people who are technically on my left of the screen, but who knows, they're on yours.
Yeah.
See you later. Thank you very much and goodbye.
Bye.